AmyK here, 50 at 50, number 36, answering 50 of your questions in my 50th year on the planet. If you've got a question for me, you can send it to support@shegetsit.com. Again, support@shegetsit.com. I would be honored to answer it. And I will email you directly and I will do a response in a video. And if you want me to keep it anonymous, I'm happy to do that too. All right, we're diving into Laura's. Hi, AmyK. Hello, Laura. When do you speak up to your mother-in-law and when do you bite your tongue? I'm so tired of the passive-aggressive comments. All right. I think all of us can relate to that, whether it's a mother-in-law, somebody else that we know, somebody in the neighborhood, somebody at work. We've all dealt with a passive-aggressive person. I'm not a good enough mother. The children's rooms aren't clean enough. They're not involved in enough activities. I'm too hard and then I'm too soft. And sometimes, wait for this. She won't say things to me, but she says it to my husband. Okay. It's one little dig after another. I try to ignore her, but she's arriving this summer and I'm dreading it already. Oh, help please, Laura. Okay. Laura, we're going to dive in because we're going to talk about all things boundaries. The first thing that I want to toss up for consideration is have a conversation with your husband before she even arrives. You don't need your husband to use your own voice. So let me just say that. You don't need your husband's permission or anything like that. What I'm talking about is having a healthy dynamic in your marriage that allows you to then create an even healthier dynamic with her. So when you go to your husband and you're on the same page and you're feeling aligned and both of you can present a unified front with her, it's more likely that you will change her behaviors. And again, you don't need your husband's permission to use your voice. It just makes it easier if you're on the same page. So go to your husband and say, might we agree that we both want a joyful experience for all when your mother comes to visit? And if joyful is too strong a word, find enjoyable or pleasant, but find that word. And of course he's going to say yes. And then say, it would mean a lot to me if we had a unified front. So if and when she's criticizing me, if and when she's criticizing you, if and when she's criticizing our parenting, I want us to have a unified front, a boundary that says we're going to change the conversation and get his agreement with that. Now, I'm going to share magical phrases that you can then say with her that either you or your hubby could use. I don't know. Let's just call her Mildred. I don't know her name. Let's just call her Mildred. I don't know if Mildred is super sensitive or if Mildred has one of those personalities that it requires a 2x4 to get your point across. You know her, you know the context, you know the scenarios. And for all of us who are listening, this is going to be a wide spectrum of ways to deal with people that are passive aggressive in your life too. So the first is leaning in, communicating to connect specifically with her. So let's just say she says something that's passive aggressive or critical. You could say something along the lines of, oh, Mildred, you know how hard parenting can be. And sometimes you just have to reprioritize and make choices. And so this summer we're focusing on, and then you could fill in the blank. We're focusing on exercising. We're focusing on healthy food choices, and we're focusing on reading. We would really love for you to support and give your focused energy on those three things and helping us with the kids in these three areas. So you're redirecting her. You're not being critical. You're stroking her ego that she knows how hard parenting is and she raised an incredible man that you so admire that you married. And you want her to help you focus and be supportive in these three areas. If she's critical of, like, say, their rooms being clean, like she makes it passive aggressive, you could say, oh, Mildred, again, we're focusing on, and you fill in the blank. Now, that's a communicating to connect. She might need a little bit more of a 2x4. So let's say she says something along the lines of, the rooms are a mess. And you could say, Mildred, that sounded really critical. Did you mean to sound so critical? Just call her on it. Or you could say something along the lines of, maybe it's a little harsher, maybe it's a little bit more passive aggressive. You might say something like, Mildred, that was really harsh, or that was really critical. I'm not sure how to respond to that. How are you hoping that I respond to that? Put the onus of critical thinking back on her. Or you can use humor. Humor works well too. So maybe she says something about, the room's being really dirty, or you're not doing a great job with activities. You could do one of those physical, like, whoa, my parenting heart just took a hit now. Did you mean to sound so critical, Mildred? Because that was pretty critical. And if she's like, oh, you can say, oh, Mildred, you know how hard parenting is. We're focusing on these three things this summer, and we'd love your support on these three. Now, You're also welcome to bite your tongue. But here's the caution about biting your tongue. You've been doing it for years, which means that you've told her that it's okay to treat you that way. So when you bite your tongue, what you're tacitly saying is, it's okay to keep saying these things. And it's not okay. It's eating you on the inside. So you can use your voice. Now, if you want to bite your tongue and she says something passive aggressive and you want to go to a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of self-leadership, you can also just have the internal narrative, oh, thank you for validating that you are passive aggressive. Thank you for validating that you are, a difficult person. I'm not responding to that. That's more about you than it is about me. Or you could actually call her on that too and say, hey, Mildred, that was really critical. What's going on? What makes it bother you so much? Because we're really focusing on, and then I would go right back to deflecting. So there's a bunch of different ways to deal with a passive aggressive person. And for those of you that are watching this video, they all work. Fill in the blank with all the different ways that the context and the scenario works for you. But you're either leaning in and deflecting, you're giving them an ego stroke and deflecting them, or you're calling a spade and you're going to put a 2x4 in place, and using your voice either way says you're going to take the high road to honor what it is that you want the dynamic of that relationship to be going forward. So to using your voice and drawing boundaries. From my heart to yours, hugs.